Welcome to Stage Explorations, where we interview the theater creatives and artists from the theater world, those who perform on stage that the audience sees, and those behind the theater stage that the audience almost never sees. I am a journalist and theater fan, Blvd Brown. Today's Stage Explorations theater podcast will be a little different. Instead of me asking the questions, I'm having the theater creatives themselves asking each other the question. Let's listen to this version of Stage Explorations podcast.
Hello, this is a special presentation of Stage Explorations. I'm Jon Peterson. This is Tony Santamauro. And we are here talking about theater and also promoting our production of MGM in concert. Tony, yes. When did you first fall in love with the theater?
I think I was at 5, and my aunt, who was in love with theater, took me to see a show at the Showboat in New Haven, and I think it was Guys and Dolls. And within 10 minutes, I fell in love with the whole style and thinking, this is the way life should be. Break into song. But, you sometimes feel, I was always a very excited child. So when I felt this, and I felt, wow, this is a great way of doing it, singing, even though it wasn't too normal to do that. But that's the way I lived my life ever since then. The theater has been the most important part of my life.
Was there any part of that a production of Guys and Dolls or anything else that let you know you had to be a part of the theater world?
Yes. It was just the exuberance, and I love the fact that they had to express their emotions in song. That's the part that got me, because you reach that peak where words are not enough. You have to sing. And I saw the reality in that. I know many people say, oh, it's not real, people bursting into song. But I disagree, because I think we should burst into song, really.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, I'd been in theater a little while. I got a late start. In high school is really when I started. But I was doing summer stock in 1990. It's either 91 or it was 92. I was doing Camelot at the Mountain Playhouse in Pennsylvania. And Camelot, it's not a very exciting show for ensemble. And I was just kind of doing my thing. And when the curtain came up for the bows, and there was this lady in the front row, probably 80s, 90s, she was on her feet as the curtain was rising.
Wow.
I started to cry.
Yeah.
I thought, that's why I'm in this business.
Yeah.
I help change someone's life for, even if it's just an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. You've made some type of a difference with someone. That's my love of the theater.
Yeah. All right. Tell us why local and regional theater is still relevant in today's society.
There's so much going on in the world out there that we need to get away from. There's a lack of cohesiveness in society with different, just political, racial, everything that's going on in the world, that the theater, local and regional, those are ways that you can reach out to the community and say, hey, we're all in this together. The theater is a place where any story you want in the world can be created. If you want to recreate history, such as Hamilton right now, it's giving history to this whole new generation of people in their style, in a way they'll actually sit and listen to it. And the Broadway shows, they reach out to the tourists, the nation as a whole, or whatnot. But the local and regional, they have a better opportunity to outreach to the local communities, to really get down to the core of people. With the smaller theaters, more intimate. You can tell stories, you can tell history, you can create situations, you can educate people on anything from A to Z. So that is definitely why the local and regional are still relevant, for sure.
Yeah, it's just like you can go anywhere with your imagination in the theater. It's amazing. I once did a show where it was supposed to take place in New York City. All we did was post a street sign, and the people felt they were in New York City. It's just amazing where your mind can go in theater.
Oh yeah, you think Willy Wonka. You're in this whole world of imagination.
Exactly.
It's anything you can. If anybody who has any type of ability to imagine something, the theater is a place where you can help them explore that imagination. I just recently saw a play called Wink that's about I'm gonna get this wrong, non-binary person, which is a person who doesn't identify as male or female. They want to be known as a person. I was so shocked. about the education I received just from this play about a non-binary individual. One person, didn't care what they were, and this other person had to know. They just said, "You have to define yourself." That's something that's relevant in today.
Oh,
And
yes.
so it's just amazing. And you can, with that, you can do anything with any type of audience, and there's no limit whatsoever. So we're going to narrow down the field here, and we're going to talk about our show, which is the show where I met you many years ago.
I remember that, boy.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
Talk about the creation of MGM in concert.
Well, MGM has always been a special studio to me. There's a line in the show that says from 1935 to 1950, they spelled entertainment MGM. And to me, there's no truer words than that. First MGM musical I saw, believe it or not, was Singing in the Rain. And right there is where it happened when he did his number in the rain. You know how many times I sang and danced in the rain with no umbrella? I'd get to New York and hang on a post. But no one cared in New York,
Right.
So I just realized that they were basically every week putting out at least 2 musicals. The amount of musicals and the stars that worked for them. But what the secret was with MGM, for me as a young boy, is that they made it look real. None of them said, "Look at me, I'm singing. Look at me, I'm dancing," as so much happens today. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like I can do that, And really, you walked out of there on a cloud. And the first thing that you thought about is, you know what, I can express myself the way they did, and I don't have to have the greatest talent to do it. It was remarkable for me. And of course, throughout the years, the music that came from there, some of the best songs that they wrote for the films and the movies, Gigi, Wizard of Oz, and going on up to Love Me or Leave Me. And all my life I said, I'd love to do this music in some form to let people get an overview of the studio. So, and then of course I was very fortunate to have my daughter Chrissy born, and very fortunate as she moved on in her time to find out she had a voice and she could sing. And yet, because she was, as a child, was, watching these musicals constantly, she picked up that style where it was very natural. She could sing and dance like Judy Garland, and yet not make it like she was trying to be special. She was an ordinary girl, Meet Me in St. Louis, and singing all those songs. As she got older, I thought, I'm going to definitely put this show together. And as you know, she married an excellent pianist, David Cohen, who was actually the musical director for our show. Mm-hmm. And I put the show together. It took many different versions because I wanted to include as many of the songs, originals, and to me, when they borrowed a standard like You Made Me Love You, it became part of MGM. That's the way I felt. And then we auditioned a very fine performer from Yale. This was all happening in New Haven. And the show got produced. And then he, of course, went on to other things, and that's where you came into the picture. Mm-hmm. I remember Chrissy telling me, I talked to Jon Peterson, and he's going to come here and fill in, and you just took over that role. And it's not an easy role because within close to maybe an hour and 40 minutes, we do 80-something songs from the studio. And they're formed in little vignettes. For instance, the first act is all the original MGM musicals. The second act is all the adaptations of the Broadway musicals. And each little vignette has to do about a certain subject. All the songs about ladies, like Gigi, Hi Lily, Hi Lo. And it became a dream come true to me. After many different alterations, we now have the show. And then we moved here, you were here, and the next thing, it actually was your idea. Why don't we revive this show? And I thought, but I'm 100 years old now. But it works, My part is simply, he's the legitimate singer in this group, and I do the musical comedy, and Chrissy just amazes me every night. It's a wonderful performance.
Yeah, she's fantastic. To kind of throw my side of that story in there, well, first, actually, let me ask you, what year was your first presentation of MGM in concert?
Oh, God, I'm not so great on years. I would say maybe in the 80s, late 80s or the 90s, yeah.
So this show definitely goes back 30 years.
Yes, and there we played what they call the condo circuit, theaters that were from 50 people up to 2,000 people. And the show just took off. It was like we were doing 4 or 5 shows a week sometimes 2 a day. Yeah, it just took off. And you came into the picture right in the height of that, I think.
It was 96 when I joined.
Yes, right in the height of our
96,
running.
yeah.
And it ran forever. I thought, is this ever going to stop?
Yeah.
I was willing to go on and do something else, but it just kept running.
I met Christy the year before that in 1995 doing a production of Evita.
Right.
Over 2 summers, we did over 300 performances of that show. She was Evita herself, and she approached me and told me about this show that you were doing and told me her entire education in the world of theater was from you.
Oh.
Here I was 26 years old, huge admirer of her talent, and I thought, well, 26, I'm green, I've only been acting maybe 8 years. I have nothing to lose. I'm in Southern California, Orange County. Let's pick up everything, quit my day job, and move to Fort Lauderdale, Florida to do this show.
That was very brave of you.
Well, I tell you what, for me as an actor and performer, it's the best thing I could have done for me, talent-wise, because learning from you that it's not about how pretty I sound after having done 7 years of professional opera. It's about what you're saying. Exactly. It's really, truly about the lyric. And let's see. Okay, we'll move forward from there. We have so much to talk about today.
Yeah.
Let's see. Why are the MGM musical productions still popular, and how are they relevant in this day and age?
Well, I think they're popular for 2 reasons. First of all, to the people who lived through that period and watched those musicals are just so excited to hear this. The repertoire of music is, as you know, unbelievable. Come on.
Amazing.
And these songs will never, ever die. And I think it's such a treat because they're not getting it from any place else, you know. And I think what's so relevant, I work with a lot of young people, teenagers, basically. I did some lectures at UCL. What is the name of the college? As you get old, you forget these things. UCLA. Yeah. And I was amazed because they've never been exposed to this. And as I was teaching them and showing them, they were like, this is amazing. And I think the idea of the MGM show, if it could attract, fairly young crowd, I think they'd be as amazed to hear this music and to hear how old it is and how relevant it stays. It doesn't get old. You can listen to a song from an MGM musical and literally not change the arrangement, and it'll sound like it's today.
Right.
Which is very difficult to do if you take a song from the 50s that was a pop song. Oh, that's from the 50s. But I dare people to say what year these songs were from.
Right.
That's why I think it's relevant for the younger audience, and of course the older audience, they just are in another world with the music.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What era, what date span were the MGM musicals a hot ticket?
The MGM musicals basically were started in the 30s, maybe the mid-30s, and when they hit the middle 40s, that was the bloom of the studio. It was said they had more stars working for them than you could find in the heavens, which is true. I mean, you cannot, go on forever and ever with a list of the people. But during that period, as I said, sometimes 2 musicals a week were out. Some were basically what you call a B musical, and others were major. But however, whether B or A or whatever, it was a great experience. Even the B musicals, they were true to the songs. The productions were beautifully done. And the main thing about the MGM musicals is that they were very natural. And that's the thing I stressed when we started working with you. I says, do not try to be anything but who you are.
Yeah.
And sing the lyric, which is the most important thing in a song is the lyric. You don't even have to be a great singer, but if you do that lyric, you've got these people. But that was the height of it, I think, until the mid-50s. And then, of course, musicals started, nothing against MGM.
Right.
But musicals were starting to go out.
I think me coming to you, like you said, just be you, a lot of my performances were affected coming from having to perform at what is now the Segerstrom Center in Orange County. It was the Orange County Performing Arts Center then, doing a grand opera where everything had to be broad.
Right.
And, I didn't know what I was singing half the time because it was in a foreign language. Between that and singing Andrew Lloyd Webber with Evita, so many performances of that, just the big voice. It was, you got to sound loud, you got to sound pretty, you got to be big, bigger than life. Not with this type of material. It does not work. It'll sound great.
Yeah.
And you'll entertain people with your voice and whatnot, but you don't really pull, in my opinion, the true, like you said, the being natural.
Exactly.
As was the intent when these movies were first made.
Exactly.
It's normal to just stand in the street in the middle of the rain, busting out into song and doing a dance.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about it is that you need to have a good time. That's what those MGM, they look like they were having a ball.
Yeah.
When Debbie Reynolds and Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor do the Good Mornings number and Sing in the Rain, they look like they're having fun.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you don't even realize how difficult the number is. You're just enjoying it so much. It's only now when they're starting to tear them apart step by step, you realize, God, these guys were fantastic. But that's an attitude they never projected.
Right.
And that's what made them so successful.
Absolutely. Now, back to our show of MGM in Concert. Why is it a fan favorite? Why do people enjoy the show?
I think they enjoy the show, again, because we are having such a great time. And I think they're part of that right from the beginning. And I think the fact is, there's maybe 5 lines of dialogue, I think, in the entire show. And it's just one number after another.
So fast.
So fast that you don't get a time to think. Numbers combined with each other, numbers, 2 lines of a number slipping in and then 2 lines later on. I think they're amazed, I think, by the swiftness of the show. Aren't you? Don't you think so? They're like, when it's over, I don't know about many people you talked with afterwards, they're like, this show was an hour and 45 minutes. I felt like you guys just started.
Yeah. It has to do with the clever way it was put together, Mr. Santamauro.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm into that, making sure it moves fast.
From a musical background and having studied music theory as much as I have, your medleys and vignettes in this show are musically brilliant.
Oh, thank
musically
you very
and
much.
lyrically brilliant. But as a singer who has the fortune to be able to deliver this material, it's great. It takes a special kind of person too to be able to do it.
That's the main thing, and that's what I say. It's very difficult to cast this show. You're a natural because you can handle the legitimate, I call them songs from the different shows, but yet you can quickly become the clown and do the.
You taught me how to be a clown.
Yeah, and
be a clown.
And it's a combination. Like, I love the holiday medley where we break into "Have Yourself a Merry Christmas" mixed up with Easter Parade.
And then take me out to the ball game,
yes,
the spring holiday.
Exactly. But I think that's it takes. I'm having a problem with casting because, I'm not putting the fault on most of today's people, but they look for the tech side of everything.
Yes.
Oh, we need this. Oh, we need
the
that.
Structure.
They need the structure, and it's very difficult to make them realize, no, this is an old-fashioned put on a show in a barn kind of show.
Yeah. Think vaudeville, burlesque. In that era, things were just thrown together.
Exactly.
You just do it.
You just did it.
If someone has to step in for you, they can't do it. They can't do the same thing you just did or are going to do.
And there were no charts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you just have to be born with theater in your soul and understand it. And it's very difficult because they don't get the chance today to do something like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As you keep saying, it's so structured in tech today. You have to do it.
And it as a performer, I think it's fantastic material and well put together. So it feels right. It feels.
I'm very proud of the show myself. Yeah, I think it's one of the better things that I've done.
Yep, definitely. What do you want the audience to get out of this show, MGM in Concert?
Mainly, I like them to leave thinking I've been so entertained tonight, more so than I've ever been. I would love that. But I would also love for them to be, again, acknowledge, which they may have forgotten, you do forget, the vault of legendary music, and every composer who was a composer, Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, Lerner and Loewe, Jerome Kern, it's unheard of, really is what it is. And I would like that to be something they walk out, and they have. That's the thing you notice, going, my God, I've heard so much music tonight that was so beautiful, and that I've forgotten. So, and the main thing is to know that they've been entertained.
Yes.
That it's been a nice night for them.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's fantastic. I'd like to narrow that down a little bit. I mean, I agree 100% with what you say, but with the different demographics out there that come to the theater, you've got the golden age of theater patrons who grew up with this music. So for them, I love being able to give them a bit of nostalgia.
Yes.
Take them back. Maybe this MGM movie musical is what they went on their first date to see.
Yes,
just bring them into a world of wonderful memories. And then you have the younger group of people. I'm 48, so I would say I'm in the middle of all of that. So people younger than myself, and all the way down to even junior high school. The material is all family friendly, but to educate them and bring them into this world of what musicals are. You get a musical like Hamilton, which is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But you wouldn't have Hamilton if you didn't have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Just like if you don't have a word, if you don't have the letters in the word, the alphabet. So it shows them, Hamilton's here, but Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's a genius, he's a musician and a lyricist who, in my opinion, I think he's probably pretty old school. That's how he was educated.
Oh, yes.
Because he wouldn't have been able to write in the Heights and that without that type of background.
And to see him perform in Mary Poppins Returns.
Yes.
It's old style Broadway. It's just, he's amazing. But you can see that this man is versed, well versed. He knows it all. And that's important.
Yeah.
Like you say.
And it's kind of, this song is almost like a bridge between the generations.
Yes.
Where we can take the younger generations and the older generations and bring them together into a cohesive night of entertainment.
Right.
Wow. I don't know if I could say that twice.
Yeah.
Why must the Southern California community come to see MGM in concert?
Well, from my viewpoint, not only because I wrote it or put it together, of course, but I feel that it's an experience they should not cheat themselves of. I think that the quality of the writing, is number one. I think that would really make people stop and think, my God, these people who wrote this music are genius. And what I also, as I said earlier, the longevity of it. I think when they come, it's timeless. Yeah. And I think that's the important thing. The younger people who come to the theater are going to be entertained, I have no doubt. Whether they like whatever today's music is or whatever, this is going to give them, and the fact that we are lightning swift with it, there's no chance for them to say, oh, I'm bored with this.
Yeah. If there's a song they don't like, it's going to be over before they realize they don't like it.
Before they don't like it, yeah.
I totally forgot what I was going to say, but yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen often that I'm at a loss for words.
And one other thing that we're not giving, we haven't spoken about is David. His
gosh.
arrangements of this music, I don't know what word to use. I mean, it is literally as if they were written today. He, on that piano, makes it sound like we have a full orchestra behind us.
You took the words right out of my brain right there.
Yes, he's a show in himself, really.
And he doesn't have a score that he's following.
No.
He created this musically with his arrangements. And as a performer, I can be a challenged singer sometimes. I forget to count sometimes. Sometimes I hear things in a different key than what's being played. As a performer, he's there with you.
He's there all the way.
Like you don't miss anything. Talk about a full support system. He is like a 30-something piece orchestra on that stage with us. I feel like I'm singing with that when he plays.
And he's playing for the whole, we all get a break because we're switching songs back and forth, but he doesn't.
He doesn't stop, no.
He's got the energy of, I'm telling you, I just so happy he married my daughter. But you realize they auditioned him before I agreed on the marriage to make sure he could play the piano.
Well, he survived that. I'm glad to say.
Yeah,
glad
he's
to
such
say.
a wonderful guy.
I'm still trying to remember what I was going to say about the community down here and why they need to come see this show. Because there's nothing else like it out there. That's what I was going to say. There's nowadays.
True.
You have your revue shows, which are great, and they do a whole array of music. But this style, we don't have anything uber fancy in the show.
Right.
We're formally dressed on stage. We have our props all on a table on stage in full view of the audience. We don't hide anything. It's out there, and you do it. One person sings, 2 people get up and sing, but it's not boring because it's like you say, lightning fast, and we're so swift with it. And the way it's put together, again, it moves quickly, and just lots of different styles.
And it's like watching a puzzle being done.
Yeah.
The way everything just automatically switches and goes back and comes back. You're like sitting there in awe thinking, this is amazing. Even if you're not even listening, it's like watching this, like chess players, back and forth. Yeah, it's a fun show. There's no word about it.
My partner is in his mid-20s, not a theater person whatsoever, not familiar with 95% of this music, came to see it, and he 100% thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh,
and that's the honest truth. I'm not saying this to plug the show.
Yeah.
I know. It appeals to anybody.
Right. Look at my granddaughter. She's 22, I think. She came with her boyfriend to this, where we did the show. Where was that? At the theater we did it recently down there.
Oh, at the Ernest Borgnine Theater in Long Beach here.
And both of them, play the clubs with their style of music. And I was worrying about him. He can't wait to come back and see it.
Yeah.
He says, it's amazing what you guys do in that short time.
And my 2 nieces were there.
Oh,
my
right.
2-year-old and 4-year-old niece didn't make a peep throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
We're completely enthralled with it. So we can bring anybody from the age of 2 to the age of 102 into that show.
Right, and the younger ones, because of the insanity of it all, they just sit there, what am I watching here?
What's going on up there?
It's crazy.
Anyway, I think, is there anything else you'd like to cover about the show or
No,
anything?
I just would love to just invite you all to come and see it, give it a chance, and I know you're going to love it.
And if you do come and you get to meet Tony in person, he's very entertaining. I challenge you to find a piece of Doris Day trivia that he does not know.
Oh,
I challenge you.
Wonderful performance.
That's a challenge out there to the general public.
yes.
And if you have any questions about Doris Day, he can answer them.
Answer them.
Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. From the MGM in Concert team and Stage Explorations, thank you very much, Buell, for inviting us to be here today. Tony Santamauro, Jon Peterson, mark your calendar for the MGM in Concert production, and thank you very much for watching. I will see you at the theater.
See you at the theater.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening or watching this podcast episode of Stage Explorations. To learn more about the theater creative and more theater creatives and artists on Stage Explorations, go to www.stageexplorations.com. Once again, that is www.stageexplorations.com. There is no space between stage and explorations. You may find more videos, podcasts, and information about this theater creative and other theater creatives and artists on Stage Explorations YouTube channel. Looking forward to seeing you in the theater.
For more information on where to find MGM in Concert or to book MGM in Concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz.